Recently, Disney have uttered the unthinkable, that maybe, just maybe, the price of a Disney vacation is getting a bit too high. According to the Wall Street Journal, conversations have been happening at Disney about whether middle-class families are simply being priced out of going to the Disney resorts and theme parks. It seems that executives at Disney are finally beginning to think that things have gone too far. The journal says internal discussions are focused on whether the happiest place on earth is now a bit of a downer for most families with young kids. Disney's own surveys have found that the percentage of people planning return visits after visiting the park is down sharply, and the financial side of the equation is the key reason. For anyone who has visited recently, this isn't a shock to hear. The cost of a Disney vacation has been going up at a crazy rate. Not only have Disney inflated prices, they have also placed once-free perks behind a paywall or removed them entirely. Guests once used to get complimentary magic bands with their hotel stays, but these are long gone. Extra magic hours used to be for all hotel guests. Now it's only for those at the deluxe resorts. Then there's the Magical Express. Starting in 2005, Walt Disney World offered a free shuttle bus service from Orlando International Airport called Disney's Magical Express. But in 2022, they decided to scrap this service, and the company now offers no free mode of transport to the resort. The idea of the Magical Express was that it was yet another thing to encourage visitors to keep their trip within the confines of the Disney bubble. With the opening of Universal Orlando's third theme park, Epic Universe, this grows to look like more and more of a strange decision. Disney seem to be rather arrogant and take their customer base for granted. But without little incentives like this, what's from stopping guests from branching out and trying something new? If they have to pay for an airport transfer, they can just as well pay for it to take them to another Orlando resort rather than a Disney one. Now, when having this conversation, many like to raise the idea that people will just start to opt for the Universal bubble over the Disney one because it's just so much cheaper. But this isn't quite true. The cheapest hotel room at Disney and the cheapest hotel room at Universal are, for most of the year, pretty much the same price. Similarly, their cheapest park tickets, the single day, single park ticket, both start from $119. Park hoppers and multi-day tickets are also pretty similarly priced, despite Universal's being for 2 parks and Disney's for 4. Food and drink prices really aren't that different, with Universal's sit-down restaurants being slightly cheaper, but their festival food typically being a bit more expensive than Disney's. The only place the price difference really plays a part is when it comes to annual passes. A Universal annual pass is much cheaper than a Walt Disney World annual pass. And while it does cover only half as many parks, this can still make a lot more sense for locals to purchase. But for the vacation trippers Disney seem most worried about, these annual pass differences aren't really the focus. To remove them from the comparison to Universal and to instead compare Walt Disney World tickets now to their cost in the past, it is here where the price differences really start to appear. The cost of actually staying at a Walt Disney World hotel, park tickets, food, and even merchandise has been constantly going up. In fact, in January 2022, the company raised prices on nearly all food, soft drinks, and alcoholic beverages throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. Then, when it comes to park tickets, a one-day base-level ticket to Walt Disney World averaged $89 in 2012 and $147 in 2022, meaning the growth rate of the cost of park tickets has been about 5% annually. In fact, over the past 10 years, the average cost for a Walt Disney World single park ticket has inflated more than 56%, well above the national rate of inflation. Disney has kept its lowest ticket tier price stable since 2019 at Walt Disney World, which is that $119 for a single day, single park ticket already mentioned. But this is only available on off-peak days. And while I'd like to praise this stable ticket price, there is still an issue. Disney uses dynamic pricing on all their park tickets, meaning they change in cost depending on how busy the parks are predicted to be, and an off-peak day is rather hard to come by. This system is also utilised by Universal, where an off-peak day is also near impossible to find. Despite all these rising costs, in its Q3 2024 results, Disney reported disappointing park numbers, with operating profits dropping 3% year over year, a concerning trend from one of the company's biggest money makers. Disney blamed this slip in performance on a softening consumer environment, saying demand isn't where they thought it would be. This appears to be an industry-wide issue, as Universal's parent company, Comcast, saw a nearly 11% drop in theme park revenue, driven by lower attendance in that same quarter. It's because of these numbers and the drop in profits they've caused for Disney that we've seen so many upcharges come into the theme park experience. Disney hoped that by charging for things once free, they could combat these losses by giving people more to have to spend on. This seemed to prop their profits up for a bit, but evidently has ultimately not stopped their earnings dropping. So what are these new costs? And if Disney wants to make the Walt Disney World vacation cheaper, why don't they just scrap them? There are small things like dessert parties and firework dining packages that have become the norm over the past few years, but these are far from the most egregious. These sort of VIP experiences are far from necessary and have not put behind a paywall something that was once free. It's not like you can't view the nighttime shows without these things. Although Disney, please don't get any ideas. Another new cost is the addition of a few more seasonal and after-hour events, like the After Dark events and Hollywood Studios' new Christmas event, Disney's Jollywood Nights. Almost comically, having said what I just said, part of this Christmas event included the exclusive opportunity to see the once free and never popular nighttime Christmas show, Jingle Bell, Jingle Bam. Now, the most high profile of these new additions is of course paid fast passes. Paying to skip the line is far from a brand new concept in the theme park industry. In fact, for a long time, Disney really were the only ones to ever offer this service for free. Universal have always charged for express passes, and ever since I can remember, this cost has been incredibly high. But starting back in 1999, Disney offered a free FastPass service, which allowed guests to scan their tickets and receive a time slot to skip an attraction line. The free FastPass system underwent a lot of changes before going away. The addition of the Magic Band system in Walt Disney World in 2014 allowed Disney to play around with new ways of offering this service to guests, most notably allowing them to book passes in advance rather than obtaining them on the day. For some, this was popular and relieved stress by guaranteeing them access to their favourite attractions during the trip planning process. But others complained that this system was far too regimented and forced them to have to plan their trip way too far in advance and in a way that they just didn't want to. In 2018, we began to see the Premier Access Pass introduced to some of Disney's international parks, which coexisted with a free FastPass service. Clearly, Disney got a taste for charging for FastPasses, and on August 18th, 2021, it was announced that FastPass would be retired and replaced at Disneyland and Walt Disney World by the Disney Genie Plus service's Lightning Lane offering, which could be used via a daily fee. As you'd expect, and probably remember, this was met with outrage. This service at first allowed guests to make reservations for 3 attractions day of, and then, once these were all used, they could go on to make one more at a time until the day ended or passes ran out. Today, these first 3 passes can be booked 7 days in advance, bringing the divisive planning in advance of the MyMagic Plus system back. The Lightning Lane system started off at a flat rate of $15 per guest per day, but in October 2022, dynamic pricing was introduced, and prices would range from $15 to $22 per person per day. Today, that has increased to between $15 and $39. To make matters worse, this fee doesn't even cover all attractions with a Lightning Lane queue, as each park has an attraction that must be purchased via a Lightning Lane single pass. This attraction is usually the park's newest and/or most popular attraction, and costs between $13 and $25. Then, in 2024, the Lightning Lane Premier Pass was added, which allows guests access to any Lightning Lane queue once at a given park at any time and costs between $119 and $449 per day per ticket, depending on the park. It's these new and ever-increasing costs that have truly cemented the growing perception that a Disney vacation is becoming prohibitively expensive for the average family. A Disney vacation has never been cheap, and research suggests that for a long time now, many families have opted to go into debt in order to provide their children with the gift of a Disney vacation. With the current state of the economy, it's not surprising to see the number of people willing to go into debt for the Disney vacation go down. But beyond just the general state of the economy, there are other things that are affecting Disney. Many who would consider themselves long-standing fans of the Disney parks are not happy with the current products on offer. More than just the bad taste of sneaky new costs, many feel that the general quality of the Disney park experience has gone down. Since 2020, entertainment has decreased in the parks, with things like the roaming characters in Hollywood studios having been removed, the Muppets being taken from Magic Kingdom's Liberty Square, and the themed entertainment being scrapped from Animal Kingdom's Pandora. Then there's the attractions themselves. Disney's current insistence on only building in places where something else once stood is not a good look. In Disneyland, this makes sense. But in Walt Disney World, where space was supposed to be no problem, this is angering many. Some are even speculating that they're doing this to keep capacity restricted and therefore wait times up, which of course incentivizes guests to buy lightning lanes. Add to this the restricted budgets that are being allocated to many of these new attractions, and things aren't looking good. I like Tiana's Bayou Adventure a lot more than a lot of people. But with Static Frogs, where I believe there should be animatronics and just too much blank space, this attraction does reek of a few budget cuts. Then there's the constant downtime of new attractions, with Tiana's again an example, and even Rise of the Resistance. Although this attraction is now better at staying open, it does still suffer from many broken effects. It really is incredibly rare to ride this with the final Kylo Ren animatronic working, which is such a shame. The Disney brand may be a powerful force, but when a Disney vacation costs the same as a week in a luxury resort, but comes without the luxuries you'd expect when paying such a high price, how much longer will people continue to pay for this? Walt Disney World has been the focus of most of this conversation, as it's Disney's true vacation hub, but Disneyland is no cheaper, and even the international parks suffer from similarly high costs. I know there's no such thing as a cheap Disneyland Paris trip. Even Tokyo Disney Resort, which has a reputation of being cheap to Americans, is only this way due to the exchange rate, and actually works out just as expensive for locals as Walt Disney World does for Americans. We have already seen a few early indicators of change, such as the removal of parking fees at hotels and the free perks now being offered with certain vacation packages. But will this be enough? It will be very interesting to see what Disney decides should be their next steps in tackling this problem. I doubt we'll see a return to free fast passes, but hey, it doesn't hurt to dream. Let me know what you think we'll see Disney do to combat this issue, if you think we'll see anything at all. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out some of my other videos and the links in the description.